This week on X-Trex, drone hives, robot wives, run for your fucking lives!
It's the robots episode. Welcome to X-Trex, a podcast where we introduce each other to our fandoms one episode at a time. I'm your host, Erin Cline, and X-Files spooky bitch.
And I'm your other host, Stella Cheeks, a slut for Star Trek the original series. Each podcast, we pick 2 episodes that fit a cinematic theme, watch them together, and then record our feelings.
Our theme this week is robots.
We wanted to open season 3 with a banger, so I saved this episode specifically for season 3. That's right, it's iMud time, baby. God, I'm so up and excited. It was a delight to watch Erin watch this episode. It is one of my favorite episodes, obviously, because my top 3 favorites are the only 3 comedy ones, so unsurprising here. It's also one of the only episodes that directly relates to a previous episode, Mud's Women, so we did have to save this little gem, but man, it was worth the wait, because if you loved Harry Mudd in Mud's Women, oh boy, are you in for a treat, because this episode is a wild ride. Kirk gets to let his bitch out and talk hundreds of computers to death, the dream, and we get more amazing Harcourt Fenton Mudd. It's a classic story of how the Enterprise crew bands together and uses their collective power of assholery to save the universe. Your crew could never. Plus, it has several scenes that you've 100% seen in GIF form. Erin even was like, oh, that's where this is from. Mm-hmm. The dancing, it's perfect. I love it. It's incredible. Let's go.
And for the X-Files, there's actually quite a few episodes that have to do with robots, AI, man versus machine type themes, and I am jumping well into the back seasons with the season 11 episode RM9SBG93ZXJZ, which from now on I'm just going to call Boomers versus Robots. In this episode, Mulder and Scully learn that just because a robot isn't human doesn't mean you can't hurt its feelings, and if you hurt its feelings, it will try to murder you. And also, I may have accidentally written all of these notes last season for the man versus machine one, and so we're all going to learn together what my summary was.
We learn together every time what my summary is.
Are you ready for digging in there, Mr. Spock?
I've never been more ready in my life.
He has avoided 2 appointments that I've made for his physical exam without reason.
That's not at all surprising, Doctor. He's probably terrified of your beads and rattles.
First, a quick-ish episode summary. Spock and Bones are casually strutting down the hallway of the Enterprise when a new crewman walks by. Bones abruptly stops to remark that something is wrong with that man. Spock is like, okay, I'll humor you. Why? Bones, of course, complains in a way that inadvertently insults Spock, but in an uncharacteristic moment, he apologizes. But Spock is in a mood, so he's like, whatever, bye. But it turns out Bones was right, and the vibes were completely off. The man in question dips into navigation and engineering and totally takes over the ship. When questioned by the captain, who is already over it, the man delivers the classic, "We mean you no harm" speech, and then reveals himself to be an android by showing off his fancy tummy. Kirk tries to get him to hand the Enterprise over and to give him, any information, but the android goes the fuck to sleep. With no other option, the crew settle back and are just along for the ride. Eventually, they arrive at their destination, and the android wakes up. He invites Kirk and the crew to the planet. Kirk refuses. The android says, yeah, but if you don't, I'll blow up your engines. But then the android says please, and the crew is so taken aback that they relent and beam down to the surface. Once they are on the surface, they are greeted with their old nemesis, Harcourt Fenton Mudd, sitting on a literal throne. Kirk, fluent in Mudd speak, is able to discern that after they dropped him off at jail, he escaped, stole some engineering plans from the Vulcans, sold them to the Denebians, got caught, sent to jail again, and then escaped again. All for the love of free enterprise and the distribution of knowledge. For a modest fee, of course. But in the escape, the ship was damaged, and he landed on this planet, the planet now known as Mudd. Here on the planet, he found a species of perfect androids who exist to serve. It's absolute paradise. Except that, of course, they won't let him leave. A fancy prison is still a prison after all. Thinking that if they have more humans to study, they'll let him leave, he convinces them to capture a Starfleet starship. He pretends that he didn't specifically ask for Kirk, but we all know that's a lie. Mudd tries to entice the crew with promises of immortality, science, and sex, all to the annoyance of Kirk. But ultimately, the crew come to realize that a gilded cage is still a cage. Harry Mudd's plan of escape are thwarted, obviously, when the androids decide to leave him behind so they can fulfill their mission of overthrowing the human race to save them from themselves and keep them as docile little pets. Spock concludes that, yes, they could do that, but that the androids are already overtaxed and their center of control, Norman, hilariously an android named Norman, could be easily thwarted. You know what that means, gang. Let's talk a race of computers to death. The crew used their power of theater and illogic. The crew used their power of theater and illogical brains. I don't know. I just wrote illogic. Does that make sense?
Their power of illogic. Yeah.
Okay. The crew used their power of theater and illogic to melt the android's brains and ultimately overthrow Norman with a simple liar's paradox. Erin's favorite rare pair, Spock and Scotty, reprogrammed the androids to return to their original task of making the planet productive, and Kirk, a master of unique punishment, leaves Harry Mudd behind on the planet to be nagged to death by 500 robots of his horrible wife, none of whom respond to his pre-programmed command to shut up. Space laughter!
Yay! Go fuck yourself, Mudd!
What did you think of this incredible episode?
I loved it! Oh my god!
Like, I know you've been listening for, like, since the moment we thought of extracts and we were coming up with, like, where to put stuff. This is a one that I've low-key been like, God, I can't wait till we get to iMud. God, I can't wait till we get to iMud. Yes. And you're like, yeah, whatever, I get it. But you get it now.
Oh, I get it. That was amazing.
It's perfect.
I loved it. I love Bones and Spock at the beginning being like, here I am, Bones, in a fucking mood. And Spock's like, I am also in a mood.
Everybody's for sure in a mood.
Everyone's in like a wild mood in this. It's almost like, it's like they're half a step before we really need like a shore leave day. Like they're not quite at, I'm so exhausted, I'm ready to kill a person, but like, almost.
Everybody's just like bitchy in this episode. Yes. Like the moment where Norman comes onto the bridge and grabs Kirk's arm, Kirk just slowly looks down at his hand and is like, who the fuck are you? Yeah. This episode has like pre-fuck around and find out energy. Yes. It's not quite to like Trouble with Tribbles, like you said, where Kirk is like, I'm gonna kill somebody if I don't get a chicken sandwich. It's just like pre that.
Yes, exactly. Like I can see how this is the mission that then leads into shore leave, where they're like, we just went through all of this fucking fuckery and now we need a vacation. Like that absolutely tracks for me. I loved the dancing, obviously.
The dancing to no music.
The dancing to no music. The like violins that Bones and Scotty are playing.
Well, Scotty's playing a flute. You can tell because he's making the flute lips, but not doing anything.
The fake instruments. It was a lot. I really enjoyed it. I loved her backhanding Chekhov.
I know. I like literally was like, Erin, you're watching, right? Because sometimes, we look down to write notes. And I was like, you have to be watching the screen at this point. So we're about to slap the shit out of Chekhov.
Why would she do that? Oh, she likes him. Like, well, that is true in some circles, I suppose.
We don't like you.
That was wild. That was fucking nuts. That felt wildly uncharacteristic, and yet in the context of this episode, I was like, I'm ready to accept anything at this point.
Captain Kirk has proven to us that he does not know how to insult people. Insults with Captain Kirk, terrible. And he was just like, that is the most like, oh, you don't think Captain Kirk's queer? Explain this scene. Like, yeah, there's the longing looks and the touching and whatever. This dude is a part of a queer like nation. Come on.
Oh my god, that moment when Spock is like, why would you want, I said out loud, why would you want 500 of the exact same women? That's too many. And then Spock was like, 500 women? That's a lot. I don't know about all that. And I wrote it down because it made me laugh so hard. You said, Mudd is like, yeah, I get it, homo. It's not for you.
Harry Mudd has two moments. He has that moment, and then he's showing off all the android series, and they're all female series like Annabelle and Maisie and Alice. And then Kirk just goes, you have a problem with male androids? And Mudd is like so confused. He's just like, I guess I could have made some men. Why would I want that? Kirk's like, I mean, there are many uses.
Off the top of my head, I can think of several, actually. Oh my god, I loved it. I love that there's the I have a request chair that people went and sat in, and the androids would just show up and be like, beep, boop, boop, what do you need from us?
The throne?
Yes, the throne. But it was that I have a request chair. Every time someone sat in it, they were like, do you require something? Like, yes, I do. Actually, I want to melt your brain right now.
I do love that scene too. Like, Chekhov is a hit or miss character for me, but he's great in this episode.
Yes.
He sits down and the two Alices come over who are fantastic in this episode.
Yes, they were
They're
great.
so good. They're like the main robots other than Norman. And they're like, "Well, how can we serve you, my lord?" And he's like, "You're hot, but like, you're not a real girl. I can't fuck you." And they're like, "Oh, but you could. We've like definitely been programmed for sex." And he's like, "Wait, Harry Mudd, this like disgusting, lecherous piece of shit programmed you? Oh, this is gonna be good."
Yeah. And then the next time you see him, he's like, come drunk. He's just like laying on a bed, like, oh, this is paradise.
And Kirk literally has to bodily pick him up
right?
and be
He's like,
"Hey,
get your shit together.
I know a cum drunk look when I see one."
I'm the only one who's allowed to look come drunk around here, damn it.
Because I am very efficient when I'm cum drunk. Kirk's the type of person that like needs to have a blowjob before he takes like a big test.
Absolutely.
I've definitely read a fic like that. You got the link, probably. It would take some searching, but I'm pretty sure I could find it.
That's the least surprising thing that you've ever said you've read a fic about. Like, duh, of course that exists. How could it not? Oh my god. There was just so much about this episode I liked. I liked all of the costumes. I loved at the end when we were looking at all of the robots in a row of Harry being like, oh, well, I have all of these choices. It's not so bad to be stuck down here, that all of them have a very specific look.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked all of the costuming for that. I thought that was great, especially the Alice's with the like Heidi Lovelace half pant thing going on. I really enjoyed that.
It's really interesting because you've seen a lot of those costumes before. A lot of the costumes for the twins were, or robots, they're twins, spoiler. But the costumes were like reused. Like the Annabelle series, they were wearing a costume. Oh, I guess you haven't seen Wolf in the Fold, but the Annabelle series and the Trudy series were wearing costumes that are seen in the like lounge scene of Wolf in the Fold. And then the like Barbara costume, the ones that were in the machine where Kirk was like, so heavy made men, they're wearing a costume from Mudd's Women.
Okay.
And then Stella, his wife, is wearing a costume from Conscious of the King, which you'll see this season, but haven't seen yet. So I guess you haven't seen a lot of these costumes, but they are all reused, and I think they're reused in a really good way.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like a lot of the costumes and some of the set pieces and stuff, like it's a lot of reused stuff, and it's like it's not like a closed set, but like they don't have to go outside and stuff. Like they really cleverly did a lot of stuff because like they didn't have to spend a ton on special effects because most of the androids were twins, and the only times they had to do the like photographic like copying or whatever is when it was like, here are 500 of them. I think they really used like space and costumes really well in this episode.
Yeah, I totally agree. What almost felt like a very sterile set in lots of ways. Like they used people very smartly where like the people were the set, and like that makes sense because this is a planet full of androids that like they're really what you're focusing on. And they did a really good job. Like normally they say you should show and don't tell, but I thought they did a great job of the opposite of that, where they were telling about all of the things like the library and the like laboratories that we don't actually get to like really see, that like, oh, they're amazing, there's all this stuff here, we could spend our whole lives going through this. And it's like, okay, we don't actually need to see that. Like I believe these characters when they say that X, Y, and Z is happening. So I really enjoyed that.
I think they did a really good job of the use of color too, because this is a really colorful episode, and all of the androids and the actual planet are kind of pastel-y. And then the crew is obviously the like bright technicolor, like red, yellow, blue. And then Mudd, even though he's got jewels and bullshit on him, he still kind of fits in more with the humans. So it does a really good job, I think, of being like, these are the androids and these are the humans.
Yeah.
And they are visually very different.
Yeah. I really liked, I said this while we were watching, I thought that Norman did a really good job of a person who was playing an android pretending to be a person. Like the way that he was speaking was really efficient, and then to get down onto the planet and have a lot of the women also talk in this like very specific cadence was really effective. I thought that everyone did a really good job with that. And like, I wouldn't I don't know. I expect quite a lot from Star Trek at this point. I've seen enough of it that I'm like, my standards are pretty high at this point. But like, to have everyone so consistently speak in this way that was very effective, I was really impressed by. And especially for like a 60s show, I was like, you really dialed in on this and it worked really well.
Yeah, Norman also wearing a reused costume. It's the costumes that the two half black, half white aliens are wearing.
Yes, I knew
That's
it looked
why you
familiar.
get like the peen watch and the nips.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense that an android would have hard nipples, because why would you make soft nipples on an android? If they're gonna have nipples, they should probably be hard. Like, it's the Batman suit fat thing. Like, of course, they're right here. Don't you want to see them?
Don't you want the hard nipples? Come on. And then the twins, the Alices, who they're the androids that we hear speak. We hear the Norman series, or the one Norman, we hear the Alice series, and then we hear Stella, but she's got her own special cadence.
Yeah.
But the Alices, from what I read, they were literally like pulled off the street. Like there were two instances of pulled off the street, one that didn't go so well, and then this one. And it was like, oh, you guys are twins, and do you want to be in the show? And they were like, okay.
Sure.
And they did great.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when Spock negged them to death. That we were talking while we were watching about how like it takes a whole crew of them to like dance the androids to death on one side of the ship, and Spock's like, I'm gonna neg these bitches to death in 4 seconds. Like, just leave it to me, guys. I'll take care of all of the other androids on the ship.
He tried to pinch him, and he was like, okay, that didn't work. Gross. I can't believe I used to touch this person. And
yeah, he
also,
looks so
you're
disgusted.
gross and you're great. Okay, good night. And his little poetry, we got some Spock poetry. Logic is a little bird singing in a tree. Logic is a wreath of pretty flowers that smell bad. Oh, the whistling with the phasers.
Oh, the whistling with the phasers. Oh my God. You were like, get ready. This gets wild.
I was just like shaking before that point, just like looking at you like, oh, she's gonna laugh. Like, I wrote this episode like, oh, I was so excited.
Oh, and you told me like, get ready, and I was not ready. I was not ready for how fucking batshit this got. It was wild. Like theater school bullshit exercise of the bomb exploding was
catching the ball too, and then Mud catching it behind his back
like Ricky Stark style.
Oh, incredible. Oh, Ricky Starks in a totally different way, but a similar way would be the hardcore offended Mud of
oh my God.
If I were to cast everybody, I would cast Ricky Starks as Mud.
Oh my God. Space Fop, yeah.
Except for, unlike Harry Mudd, he would be like, oh, I have men and women androids. Don't worry about it.
Oh, you want the men? Let me just turn this set around. Here we are.
With Powerhouse Hobbs as Norman.
But he's got the suit and then just like overalls over the suit. For the people who listen to this who don't watch wrestling, please Google those names. Or if anybody's listening, John Craig, can you do some cool Photoshop, please?
Oh my God. Oh fuck.
It's very good.
Oh man. Oh boy. Oh, also other thing I had to draw attention to, Bones and Scotty doing the like weird silly chin touch for like no reason. Boop.
I need to work or I will be unhappy.
Boop, boop. I also love that Scotty's like, I'm too happy. There's too much goodness. I have to die now. Like a real drunk, like a true drunk who's like, I'm too happy. I have nothing to commiserate into this bottle. I would rather die. Like, okay. I see what's going on here.
Oh, I also love that scene where they drug Harry Mudd and they were like, go to sleep. Boop. I also love that they didn't have Spock pinch him. They just gave him drugs. Bones is like, I got one thing I'm good at. Also, solving incurable diseases, but mostly the drugs.
They're related.
Yeah, that's true. And they do the subterfuge where it seems like Uhura is turning on them and it's like, I want immortality. And then Kirk's like, Uhura. And then he just like gives her like he like lifts her up like a child and is like,
You're amazing.
You're amazing. I wrote my notes like, Kirk and Uhura bestie supremacy. I love it.
Oh, that was great. That scene was very good. And like in that moment, it was like I knew that that was what was happening. But I'm sure watching it for the first time when this was airing live, it's like, no, why would you betray them? Oh my God, this is amazing.
Especially in an era where like women just want to be like pretty and shit.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was. I thought that was great. And like part of it too, when you're anticipating that she is doing it, is that she is like big, and it's like I'm playing this character of I'm alerting them of the subterfuge, but it's actually very smart too as a plan. Like they knew that we were going to try something, and so now we've done it, and now they're not like expecting that we're going to do this like chaos magic for them.
The Enterprise is good at one thing.
Talking computers to death.
I was going to say acting like extreme assholes to like win scenarios, which I think talking computers to death, sex magic, I think it all follows under that
all
umbrella.
in there. Yeah.
That's why all the other ships fail and they're like, we got to send the Enterprise. We don't know what they'll do, but they'll do something fucking crazy and it will work.
They have the most logical person who's a part of Starfleet, and yet everyone around him is insane.
Which is what he basically says at the end. He was like, oh, why would I stay here with all these androids when I could come back to the ship, because all of you do actually need babysitters. I'm your babysitter.
I like too how Bones is like, I bet you're unhappy that the illogical people lost. And he's like, happiness is a human emotion. I do not experience that. I find it very satisfying. Like, that's also a human emotion, you asshole. Like, we all know what's happening here.
And Kirk is like, touche, whatever, let's go home. I'm done with all of this.
I loved when they brought out the wife android at the end, and it was like, here's the 1, here's the 2. And before the third one came out, I was like, oh, be a high number. Please be a high number. And she comes out and is 500. I was like, this is the greatest show ever written. This is amazing.
I know. I read some review that was like, it's almost a perfect episode, but it does have like this 60s like misogyny with the wife. And I was like, normally I like would agree. But like, it's so funny, and it's Harry Mudd, so who gives a shit?
Who the fuck would marry Harry Mudd? That woman. That's exactly this. That's not misogyny. That's just those women exist and are married to those men. Like that. That's just how the world works. Yeah. And none of the other women are presented that way. Every other woman is presented as very capable and very smart, and then there's just this one shrew who exists in this universe, and like that's fine.
Behind every great man, there is a woman who's urging him into space. Look, it was funny. I'm going to accept this misogyny. I don't give a shit. Also, like, a lot of times, like, husbands are written as, well, I'm a big dum-dum who only, like, farts on a couch. So, like, you know what? I'm letting it go because it's fucking hilarious.
Yes, I agree. I also loved Bones and like, oh yeah, of course this woman sent you off into space. My ex-wife. Can you believe this bullshit?
His face is like, I get it. Yeah. Jocelyn was a bitch.
You needed to get 8,000 light years away? Oh, brother, me too. Like,
I joined fucking Starfleet. I hate space. I had nowhere else. She took the whole damn planet. Whatever. I know that's a J.J. Abrams thing. Fuck that dude. But Bones rules.
Yeah. There can be good pieces inside of poo. Yeah. It's okay.
Carl Urban as Bones. Very good.
So good. So good. Yeah, I loved this episode. I can see why you had built it up. I'm glad that it was as good as you built it up over 2 other seasons of Extracts to be.
Well, and also I had to save it because, like, this is one of the only episodes that directly relates to another episode. And this is the only TOS episode with a recurring, like, main character that's not one of the cast. Like, Harry Mudd comes back as same actress, same character, same vibe.
Yeah, very much so.
Same vibe. So, like, you actually do, just like you have to watch Space Seed before you watch Wrath of Khan, you do kind of have to watch Mudd's Women before you watch I, Mudd, because you can watch it, but it's way more enjoyable if you're already like, because you see the moment that Kirk beams down and he sees Mudd, and even though he's annoyed, he's like, okay, this I can handle. I even said that when we were watching that, like, as soon as they clock that it's Mudd, everybody is like, oh, we're not scared or threatened. Like, this is going to be annoying, but it's also kind of amusing. Like, this guy, right? We all know this fucking guy. Which is just brilliant energy. Because Kirk doesn't really get, like, physically mad at Mudd until Scotty gets thrown in, and Kirk's like, Scotty, what the fuck? I told you to save the ship. And Scotty's like, I tried to stay with the ship. This fucking bitch threw me down here. And Mudd is like, oh, yeah, all of your crew are down here. And then Kirk is like, he grabs him by the neck and throws him against the wall.
You fuck with my ship.
He's like, my starship needs a crew. It's gonna explode. It's like, no, your crew has androids on it, just, not any crew members. And then Kirk's like, okay, I was having kind of a good time. I am going to kill you now. You have tested my patience.
Yeah, I love the way that Kirk and Harry interact with each other. There was that moment right before they drug him where Kirk just touches him on the belly. It's like, this is adorable.
Jamie boy.
Oh my God, when he called him Jamie, I lost my shit. Like that, it's obviously very personal when people call him Jim, and there are only a few people who do that. To jump to calling him Jamie, I was like, oh my God, that absolutely not. Who the fuck are you?
He only calls him that once. He mostly calls him
Laddybug.
Incredible.
Oh my God. All right, those are my thoughts. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. Obviously, like the studio and stuff, like everybody loves Harry Mudd to the point where they tried to make a like comedy spin-off following the adventures of Harry Mudd, and Roddenberry's going to do it, but it kind of just got lost in the shuffle and a green light. But ironically, they wanted to do that separate thing with Mudd, but then they didn't want him to be in season 3 because they wanted more serious episodes. So there was another script that was written. It's called Mudd's Passion, I think, but they used that and that character in the animated series. So that gets used again. And then Harry Mudd, I think we mentioned it last time, gets used in, there's some novels with him, but he gets used in Star Trek Discovery. So I feel like for our season break after season 3, we should do like Harry Mudd in the new stuff, because there's like 2 episodes where he's in, and then there's a short trek that's very good. We should definitely at least watch a short trek.
Yeah.
And I think we told you last time, but Rainn Wilson plays like modern day Harry Mudd.
That's right. I remember that.
And it's very good. He does a good job. It's not quite the same because, no one could be the original Harry Mudd.
Of course,
but
obviously.
He does a really good job, and they write him very true to his character, and they're very fun. So we definitely should do that.
Yes.
And we can watch Mudd's Passion. We can watch, more Harry Mudd all the time is what I say.
I love this weird space bot. He's amazing.
In true nonsense Star Trek, we're a bunch of nerds, the title is kind of taken from the classic novel I, Claudius, which is about an absurd like Roman potentate, and then this is supposed to be like absurd like emperor of the androids. It could also be a reference to I, Robot by Asimov, which seems like it would make more sense, but in the context of Star Trek and them being like, oh, we love the classics, I bet it's I, Claudius.
Yeah, probably.
more than Asimov thing. This episode obviously is one of the 4 main times that Kirk talks a computer to death. It is the best time, I think. And because they do it as a team,
Yeah.
They all do it together. Mm-hmm. I really love it. Unsurprising. So this episode was directed by Mark Daniels, who we've talked about a million times because he directs all the best Star Trek episodes. He fucking rolls. He is the best. This episode was written by Stephen Candle, but there's an uncredited writer's credit for David Gerald, who wrote Trouble with Tribbles, and they liked that so much that they got him to punch up this script. But he was a good dude comparatively to all the other script nonsense that we've dealt with and shall continue to deal with like Roddenberry and stuff. And he was like, no, you can keep my name off of this because I just did a punch up and like I didn't actually write it, which like uncharacteristically nice.
Yeah.
For Star Trek.
Also, it feels like it has Tribble's energy. That makes a lot of sense that he did punch ups.
Yeah, especially because originally it was like half of them on the Enterprise and half of them on the planet, and then Gene L. Kuhn was like, we got to do more on the planet. We need more comedy. It's like a comedy episode. We can't just be like wandering around the Enterprise being like, grumbo, grumbo, grumbo.
I'm mad at these androids.
Yeah. So like that like saved it, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Not saved it, but just like how when we watch the one where Scotty gets super drunk, like, how that got punched up by DC Fontana and how she was like, yeah, you're missing the good part about this. Like,
right. Yeah.
The shenanigans. It's a similar vibe. No wonder you like this episode. You love shenanigans.
Yeah, I love shenanigans.
We kind of talked about the twins thing. So the Alices were pulled off the street, but there was also, there's a apocryphal story of they're searching for identical twins. And casting director Joseph DaGosta finds 2 young girls, apparently prostitutes, walking down Hollywood Boulevard with their pet wildcat, and they brought them into the producer's office.
That's the most 60s shit I've ever heard in my life.
I know. So they brought them into the producer Robert H. Justman's office, and they were like going over things, and then the cat attacked Gene L. Kuhn. And it was like, nope, you gotta go. Take your cat and go. This is all bad. And so then those girls just left with their cat, who apparently was named Marlin. I don't know if any of that is true, but I like to think that it is all true because it is the most, like you said, wild 60s nonsense. Why did everybody have like exotic
pets? Yeah.
Good thing Shatner didn't see it. You'd be like, I'm gonna fight this cat. I've never seen them, but there are apparently some really good bloopers from this. We gotta find a VHS player.
I bet they're on that tape that I gave you.
I don't know if we've said this before, but I'm sure we have. But like, Erin found a VHS of that just says Star Trek bloopers in a little free library and gave it to me. But we don't have a VHS player, so it's just sitting on my shelf. And like, maybe the like Harry Mudd one.
Yeah.
Because that scene, the like famous blooper from this is that scene where Kirk grabs him by the neck. Apparently, there's one take where Shatner grabs him by the mustache.
Oh my God.
Which is incredible. And so everybody breaks and laughs. I also, when I was researching apocryphally, like a bunch of people were trying not to break all the time. But the guy that played Norman apparently was just stoic as shit and like never broke, which I love. And really speaks to like how you said he's so good at being an android. Right. I just love that he was just like there in that suit with his like dick hanging out essentially. Cause like we talked about it in Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Peen watch the whole time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Norman for sure had peen watch. And it was just like, I'm here stoic, not laughing while my dick is just like prominently on display and my nipples are hard. Nothing is funny about this. I am a serious actor. In 2016, Sci-Fi did a thing where they were giving awards for like best scenes in Star Trek, and the scene with Nichelle as Uhura doing the like, I want her immortality, they gave her 5th best scene in Star Trek, which I thought was great because she's awesome, and that scene was really good. I love, what did they offer you, Uhura? Immortality. So good.
You know, the usual.
This is the last note that I have, and this will be sending me to eBay shortly. But apparently, you know, we love our dude, James Blish, who did a lot of the adaptations. He didn't do an adaptation of Mudd's Women or I, Mudd separately, but he did write a collected volume, which is adapted of both of those episodes, and a short story called Mudd's Angels. And I am very excited by this, and I'm going to have to find it.
Oh, yeah, obviously. That needs to be in your collection. Duh.
I'm excited. So yeah, that'll send me to eBay. This episode fucks. I'm glad that you liked it. This is one of those, had you not liked this, I would be like, I don't know. I think this whole show was a failure.
I think we have to stop doing this show right now.
We got to scrap it. It's over. It's done. Erin doesn't get it. She doesn't get me.
She doesn't understand me.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, but this was excellent. This is up there with probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah. My favorites are Piece of the Action, I, Mudd, and Trouble with Tribbles. Like, they're the 3 comedy episodes.
They're all really good.
Because I think, again, we watch a show specifically for the characters, and in these comedy episodes, they are all so deeply in character, but they get to be in character in like fun ways. And I like that nobody ever breaks. The only, complaint I have about Piece of the Action is we never get Bones in a suit. That sucks. And then my complaint about this one is like we see Sulu on the bridge, but he doesn't get to come down to the planet. Yeah. And I think that probably is due to like Green Beret filming, because remember he's gone for a while. And I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure Bobby will say this is like the last or one of the last episodes he filmed before he left for a couple episodes to film that.
That makes sense.
But I'm glad he exists in this.
Absolutely, yes. It was the last before he leaves for a long time.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I know facts.
I know things.
Yeah.
It's almost like this is your favorite show or something. Weird.
I love it so much. You ready for a synopsis showdown?
I absolutely am.
All right. Kirk and the crew are kidnapped by their old nemesis, Harry Mudd, but the Enterprise's unique strategy of being assholes is the one thing that can take down both Harcourt Fenton Mudd and an entire planet of androids.
Space Fop returns and pits Kirk against a planet full of computers. Predictably, this does not go very well for him. Also, there's dancing.
So good. You ready for Scully? It's me. Let me in. I can't. Let me in.
Let me in. Let me out. I am.
Tell me how I can make your ride more enjoyable.
Be quiet.
All right. The We're all going to learn how this summary goes together, so I haven't reread it in months. All right. The episode opens with an explanation of the AI created by Microsoft to learn from humans that almost immediately turned into an alt-right hate machine because humans on the internet are fucking awful. Jump to Scully and Mulder, who are out on a date at a high-tech sushi restaurant where Mulder's order is delivered incorrectly, blobfish. Because the restaurant is staffed fully by robots, Mulder can't get his dish corrected, and like the true boomers that they are, decide not to tip because of this. Big mistake! Huge! The restaurants won't release their card to them, and the car Scully calls to drive home is also driven by an AI and tries to kill her by speeding and driving dangerously because they won't review the goddamn restaurant. Because all AI is interconnected and all robots share the same goal, namely to fuck with boomers who are assholes, Scully's very AI home also starts to revolt by setting off the security alarms and incurring a large fine when she can't turn them off, and by sending extremely targeted marketing to her when she disposes of her face cream. Also, LOL, her vibrator is in it and reveals itself from underneath of her bed. Her fridge starts to freak out, a mysterious delivery of robot vacuum makes her very upset, and one by one, all of her appliances and power go out, including her fireplace, which is still leaking gas. Mulder, meanwhile, has been tricked by his GPS to return to his final destination, the restaurant he refused to tip at. While trying to report his kidnapped credit card, Mulder fights a series of increasing drones and escapes in his car. He drives to Scully's where she has smelled the gas and a robot fucking blows her house up. They try driving to the office and are chased by robots until they ditch their traceable devices and flee to a warehouse full of robots. The worst place you could possibly run when you're fighting robots. Before being cornered by a robot who is like, seriously, could you just fucking tip already? Mulder hilariously only tips 10%, but it's better than nothing, and they finally retreat. Mulder and Scully are then having breakfast together in a human-operated diner, paying with paper money, but still focusing on their phones. Scully decides to put her phone aside and gently touches Mulder's hand. He reacts by turning his phone screen down, and they both sit contemplating and holding hands. Maybe they'll learn how to tip now, you fucking jags. What did you think of this episode?
I love this episode.
Good.
It was so good. It's funny because before we started recording, you were like, this episode's so weird. Because I was like, the moment you walked into my house, I was like, it's Ima Day. Oh, so excited. And you were like, yeah, this episode's good, but it's weird because some people don't like it. And then like 10 minutes in, I was like, what do you mean people don't like this? This is rules. People are dumb. I hate X-Files fans. It's great. I think it's great. Like acting for David Duchovny specifically. He has excellent face acting. Like it is a good Mulder episode in that like he doesn't have to say anything, and yet Duchovny obviously understands this character and has lived with this character for so long and has since accepted this character.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because they're the same person?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he just like lives in it, and he didn't like there's barely any dialogue in this, and it's a lot of face acting, and he just does a fucking great job in this. It's really funny.
Yes.
It's so funny. The fact that like Scully can't deal with her like tech home, her giant,
beautiful
home that she lives in by herself. It's so weird. And especially Mulder comes over and it's like, why is your house nicer than mine?
Which also implies he's never been to her
Which
house.
is so funny.
Yeah. You can come to my weird cabin in the woods, Scully. And she's like, you're right. Do not step foot inside of my house.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. And then all of the interactions with the like drones and his, I don't know. I think it's a really good balance of being very, very funny, because it is funny. The like drones, the robot, the baseball bat, the vibrator, like them not tipping, the blobfish, like it's all very good, but also has like a good message. Like even though it's super corny, and it says like at the end when there's like you learn from us, and then Mulder is like, we gotta be better teachers. That is super corny, but also like very true. Right? Like the thing at the beginning is it's one of those, what's that show that is like science fiction but like gone bad? It starts with Black
Mirror.
All I can think of is Black Milk, which is a clothing company that specializes in like nerd leggings. Very different vibe. But that Black Mirror stuff where it's like, it's the future, technology is bad. And it's like, well, but some of this is like very realistic. It definitely felt like that at the beginning, a little bit preachy, but it's also like true, right? There have been instances of like AI learning stuff wrong and like learning from humans being shitbags and stuff. And like, yeah, we're not to the point where if you don't tip, the robots are going to chase you because they want to tip. And I know you made a bunch of boomer jokes, but also like, why would you tip a robot? I do kind of get that part. They delivered his food wrong, and why would you tip a robot? What are they going to do with the money? What could they possibly purchase? Why do they need it? It is maybe the best character moment written, performed in all of X-Files when Mulder, on the brink of death for him and Scully, his like long-term beloved, still puts their life on the line by only tipping 10%.
Right?
Any normal person would just hit 20 and be like, we're done with this. And he looks at the phone and he waits till the last minute. There's a bomb style countdown. 10, 9, the drama. Scully's just standing there. I thought at one moment Scully was going to just reach over and hit it. And he just looks at the phone, looks at the robot, looks at the phone, has this like face of disgust, and then just hits 10. And you're like, that could have gone really bad. You put your life and Scully's life on the line to make a point.
Yeah, right? For like $5.
Incredible energy. Never change. And also, you know what? I like these later season episodes that deal with like, I don't personally, a lot of times I don't love sci-fi and television. Like, I didn't really like Black Mirror that much. I don't like dystopia stuff, but also because sometimes when I'm watching TV and like real world shit gets involved, like all the TV shows that did episodes that were like a COVID episode, like I don't need that. Like, you live in this is a fake universe. You don't live here. You don't have to have a pandemic. We get it. I usually don't like that, but I do like it in the later seasons of the X-Files because it's not like we can ignore that the internet or something like the internet exists, right? Because they did do internet episodes and stuff in the 90s. And of course, 20 years later, even if this is a fake universe, they would still have better technology.
It would have evolved in some way.
Right. And you can't have a character like Mulder not be involved in like this type of technology that could lead to big brothery type stuff and could make his like life redundant, or like conspiracy theories go to message boards. Like, a character like Mulder would never not be involved in something like that. Mm-hmm. So I do really appreciate how they evolve Mulder specifically with evolving technology, because you have to.
Because he's still involved with technology, but he still has this very hard skepticism about technology. Right. Like, I like the juxtaposition of their homes where Scully's very high tech. She has a bunch of like integrated bullshit in her house. Right. And Mulder's security system is a bat by the front door. Mm-hmm. Like, that is exactly what Mulder's would be like. Like, I'm not giving my information to some fucking company. Fuck the government. Like, okay, but you are the government. So like, what's going on here?
And he doesn't have a TV that's connected to all that. He's just got a regular TV that he plays like old TV shows on.
He still has a VHS player
in
like 2016.
So like, he's the type of person, he's got like big Chris Pine energy of like, I will only upgrade to the technology that I like have to upgrade to because I have to have it to exist, but I will not do any of the other technology.
Mm-hmm. But we also said too that it's very funny and very true to life that in the like this drone robot army is in his house, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I take my phone with me and I am not leaving that behind, which is so true to life. Like, you in an emergency, you're like, what do I grab? I grab my keys so I can leave, and I grab my phone so I can communicate. And like, because if you leave without your phone, you're almost more fucked, because like, he needs to get a hold of Scully, he needs to let her know what's going on, even though their phones also rebel against them.
Yeah, even though I love that scene where he's like, okay, my GPS isn't working, I'll just go old school with the map. My dude, haven't you lived in this like a city for 30 years, right? 40 years? Why do you need a map from a restaurant to your home? What is going on? Don't you have like a fucking like photographic memory?
Right, exactly.
Psycho? What the hell?
You just drive there with his eyes closed. I don't know where I am. Anything Scully tells me just goes in one ear and out the other.
Who do you think picked that restaurant?
Scully, definitely. Are
like,
you kidding?
I read some reviews.
Yeah. I saw some reviews online. I just thought sushi would be fine. And he was like, okay, I'll humor you.
Yum.
Success. I love that scene too at the beginning of the two of them like sitting in their dark hoodies, like on their phones. There's a meme that always makes me laugh that is the two old punks in the back of a punk show, and it's the two of them on their phone, which is absolutely true.
100%.
It makes me laugh every single time because it's like, chef kiss. Absolutely.
I love there's many moments too of Mulder being like, my spidey sense is tingling. Like the moment where he's getting in his car and he like looks over his shoulder and all those like red lights are watching him, or when he's in his house and he's like, well, I know what I'm being watched. Where is it? Where's the thing? And he finds so like he's just got that innate like, oh, somebody's looking at me. It's been honed over many, many years.
Right? It's like I've trained my whole life for this exact scenario. Yeah, I love this episode. I think
really good.
It only has 20 lines of dialogue, which works. Like I like that it's a lot of face acting. I like that it's a lot of like guttural noises. Like it's very effective, and especially for a couple in their 50s. Like they don't talk during dinner. They haven't talked for a decade, and that's good. Like they don't need to.
I was gonna say that it's really good for the vibe of the episode, especially because there's like excellent sound design and music in this episode, but also like especially for people who care about the relationship of Scully and Mulder, like the fact that they are sitting in like a companionable silence. It's not silence where there's like tension and they like hate each other in a fight. So it's companionable silence. And also like the opening scene where they're ordering and stuff, like they don't need words to communicate. Like that speaks to the depth and longevity and the importance and all, you know, all those words and feelings of that relationship specifically. Though Scully is a bitch for not buying Skinner a birthday cake.
It's not that she wasn't going to. She set a reminder for it. So her fridge is like, make sure you buy Skinner a birthday cake. You don't have any cake yet, which is a reference to Portal with the robots saying the cake is a lie. Yeah. There's a bunch of those like hidden inside of this that are like the name of the fake Roomba is a reference to HAL 1000, 9000. I can never remember what it's to HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like there's a lot of like robot lore like stuck inside of this, which I thought was really clever, and especially because it's there is so little dialogue that it's nice that it's like you actually have to be paying attention to this episode, which I like a lot, because there are a lot of X-Files episodes where you could be like, I'm gonna zone out for 8 minutes and we'll come back when the aliens are here. Who gives a shit about whatever the fuck the Syndicate is doing? Like, but this one is really good because it's very visually compelling, and like you said, like the soundtrack and the noise design, the sound design is really good.
Especially with the scene specifically that I loved was when the like other robot or other drones come to pick up the dead drone, and it's just like whoom, and then just Mulder looking, and then like back to the thing, whoom.
Yes.
It's like that anticipation. Also, that specific sound design is very sci-fi, very robot, very 2001: Space Odyssey. Like that also has like connections with like robot bullshit.
Yes, absolutely. The first lines of dialogue, there's no lines spoken by a human until 10 minutes into this episode, which is like fucking wild.
Which is Scully just going, Mulder!
Yes, exactly. I'm getting taken by this car!
Whips.
Whips.
With the emojis with teeth.
Creepy.
The worst.
Super creepy.
How can I make this ride enjoyable? Shut the fuck up.
Right? That is the most human reaction to any kind of ride share service, where it's like, listen, sometimes, absolutely, I want to have a conversation with my driver. If you're interesting, I'm having a great time. You just want to talk about bullshit? Please leave me alone. Like, I'm going to tip you so much more generous. I'm going to tip you generously anyway, but I'll tip you more generously if you just shut the fuck up for 20 minutes.
Do not talk to me. Yeah. Right? I even feel that way about like my tattoo artist. Like I go to somebody who I like, and when we talk, like it's great, but like she's also down to just be quiet and let me vibe on my audiobook. And I'm like, This is like, we'll have a little conversation at the beginning, and then we both just like totally zone out, but it doesn't feel weird. Yes. There's no pressure to fill it, and then you're just like vibing, and then you're like, this rules, this fucks, goodbye. And also she's way faster when I don't talk to her.
Right? Yes. Like, please concentrate on the tattoo you're permanently putting onto my body. Yes. I will say 0 words for the next 3 hours. See you then. Like, I totally agree. Absolutely. Occasionally I'm like, yeah, sure, let's chat. I love to shoot the shit. And then other times I'm like, please let me listen to my audiobook.
Specifically to take hours, so it's like, let's shoot the shit for a little bit, but then we'll both just shut up.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. The AI that they talk about at the beginning of the episode is real, in case people didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know about
No.
that? Yeah, I think her name is Microsoft's Tay. Was an AI account that was introduced into Twitter, and literally in 24 hours it became an alt-right hate machine, and so they had to shut it down. It was like the perfect lab simulation of like, what happens when you let humans teach AI? Oh, fuck. Oh my God, we can never do this.
Yeah, especially not teach them specifically through social media.
Through Twitter specifically.
Yeah,
like,
you can't be doing. What would have happened if it was Instagram? Just by the end of the day, she'd be like, use code like Tay25 to get 25% off my fit tee or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. Yes. Yeah, that was a real thing. It got introduced on March 23rd, 2016, and as they said in the episode,
2016.
yep, it was immediately shut down.
If that ain't a predictor of the future, what is?
Exactly. The title, the RM9, long string of text. It's a base 64 string that decodes to followers, which I thought was really interesting. And then the restaurant where they're eating, Forowa, is a Japanese word that also means follower. And so it's like there's lots of that little stuff inside of there. And then I don't know if you saw this, the opener when it normally says the truth is out there was also base 64 code. And so it was a long string of like letters and numbers.
Because I was singing.
Yeah, I understand. It's hard not to sing along. Both of these theme songs are bangers for this show, as we've established this. So I more like visual stuff where it's like if you're paying attention, you get this like extra stuff inside of it that I really enjoyed. When Mulder's GPS takes him back to the restaurant and tells him he's arrived at his final destination was originally an X-Files episode, and so that's also like a reference back to that. Did you know that?
Final Destination, the TV or the
movie? Yes, it was originally an X-Files episode that they were
damn.
They were like, we don't need Mulder and Scully in this, and so then Glenn Morgan was like, I'm gonna take this, and we're gonna make this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I did know when I was watching the credits and like Glenn Morgan and what's the other guy,
James Wong.
When their names came up, I was like, oh, this is about to be a banger.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they wrote Final Destination, and like
that makes so much sense,
right? Exactly. Just imagine Mulder and Scully like shoved into Final Destination and condensed to 40-minute episode. Like, absolutely, this totally makes sense. But like, because you don't need Mulder and Scully in that, and you just focus on the main kid, it is very easy to expand into a full movie. A movie which has scarred a generation about fucking log trucks.
That. I haven't seen that movie since it like came out, and I regularly think about several of the deaths.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the one where they're driving in the poles. I think about it every time I'm driving.
Absolutely. Anytime I'm behind a log truck,
exactly.
I'm like, we're all gonna die.
We're dead. 100%.
Just as like a related note to that too, you can tell a whole generation has been scarred by it because when you see a log truck diving down the road, there's like 4 cars separating the back of them. People like will not drive behind them anymore because they're terrifying. Even before this like iconic movie death, it's like that's not safe. I'm not going anywhere fucking near that.
No, thank you.
So yeah, that's why they say it's taking him to his final destination because it's a wink back to
that. Made that note about like LOL Final Destination or whatever because like obviously it was threatening,
right?
You'll make it to your office. Never make it to your office. Like I got the threat, but now that I know that is great.
Mm-hmm. Yep, another like little wink and a nod inside of this. That's part of why this episode is so good. This episode is the first time that Scully goes back to the Bob haircut, and you've seen the Immortality episode where he's like, "Oh, did you get your haircut?" That's like 4 episodes later. That's why she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? For real?"
Incredible. Her hair looks great. I even mentioned it.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, what a good haircut."
I know. She has great hair. It's absolutely true. At the very end, there's that shot of the Edward Hopper painting of the Nighthawks. It's one of my favorite paintings. It's
with robots.
But with robots. At the beginning, the shot of the two of them inside of the diner is also a like recreation of that shot of Nighthawks too. Them by themselves without the like, but like sitting at that same counter. It's that same like juxtaposition, which I thought was cool. It's like a nice bookend on either side of it, which is cool. The scene where Mulder is being chased by the tiny flying drums is a visual reference to that episode with the bees that we watched, where they're like chasing the kids. It's like a direct visual simulation too, which I really like.
It looks really good. It did not that episode specifically, but it did give me like, oh, this feels like a swarm. This feels like insects. Like I got that vibe, so that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed that part. So I was sort of right about the way that people respond to this. The critical reviews, super positive, as 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, because people were the critical reviews of it are like, this is fucking incredible.
It's so good.
But then like we were talking about, X-Files fans are fucking weird. And so sometimes it's like, are we watching different things? I don't understand what your problem is with this. And I think a big part of it is it feels like a very separate episode. Like it is absolutely like in its own little bottle. This is so...
Because it's not like a mission. It's just like we tried to get sushi and then we accidentally like got in a fight with a bunch of robots.
Right. And it's not like there is no like real supernatural or paranormal thing that's happening. It's AI that's connected to each other that's like, fuck you, boomer, tip me. And like which is sort of supernatural in that they would all be connected, but inside of the X-Files universe, like, of course, all of the robots are connected to each other. That makes
Everything
sense.
is connected, Erin.
Everything's connected.
No coincidences.
This episode was written by Kristen Cloak, who's the wife of Glenn Morgan, and Sharon Hamblin, who was his writer's assistant. This is their only script that they wrote for the X-Files.
Well, good for them.
And they put out a fucking banger.
nailed it.
Absolutely. Glenn Morgan directed, and he was inspired to tell a visual story without dialogue. He did a similar type of episode for Space Above and Beyond, which his wife, Kristen Cloak, starred in, which makes sense that they were like, our brains are in the same place about this. Yeah, that's this episode. It fucking rules, right?
Rules.
It's
So good.
I was a little worried starting with this one because I was like, all right, well, this is the obvious choice for robots after I accidentally did the notes for this for Man vs. Machine. But I was a little worried starting season 3, like, this is a lesser known episode. It's in season 11. There's not like a ton of apocrypha about it, but I'm really glad that you liked it because I love this episode. I think it's excellent.
Here's the thing. This is our show. We do whatever the fuck we want.
That's true. You're right. You're right.
And I loved it.
That's true. But we talked before, like, you have to do every single episode of Star Trek. And so I try to pick good episodes of the X-Files for the most part. But sometimes, like, the best fit for a theme is an episode that's, like, not super great. And so, like, I try to not, like, always fudge the themes. And so there are times where I pick stuff, especially coming up in this season and season 4, where it was like, this is a good representation of the X-Files. And sometimes you're going to see episodes that like aren't as good necessarily. And so I was a little worried that you were going to feel that about this, but I'm glad you really liked it.
I mean, maybe this is a wild thing to say because I haven't watched it all in a row and I don't have the whole build-up or the break or blah, blah, blah. But like every episode I've seen from the later episodes, I like a lot. I think they're very good.
I really like season 11. I think season 11 can be very good. Season 10 is only like 5 or 6 episodes. It's really fucking short. And so there are parts of it I don't love. They return to the alien apocrypha, and there are things that I'm like,
we don't give a shit about the aliens.
Who gives a fuck about that? Right. But then like the Monster of the Week stuff inside of 10 is fucking incredible. And so like, and part of what I like about it is that the last 2 seasons are so meta in so many ways. And so many of the good X-Files episodes are very meta. And like, sure, some people don't like that. They're wrong. I don't care. Like,
sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck, man. Right? Like we talked about this so many times. One of the best ways to watch the X-Files is just to accept that it's a silly ass show. Yeah. And like, so to accept the comedy of this episode makes it so much more enjoyable than, I don't understand, why aren't they talking to each other? Like, they don't need to. They're fucking 50. Who gives a shit? Synopsis showdown?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Boomer couple refuses to tip and almost dies because of it.
Mulder almost starts the robot apocalypse because he's a shitty tipper.
Yep.
Are you ready for Deep Throat's mission logs?
Yes.
Now listen, Spock, you may be a wonderful science officer, but believe me, you couldn't sell fake patents to your mother.
I fail to understand why I should care to induce my mother to purchase falsified patents.
Forget it.
Starting with I'm Mud. So written by Stephen Candle, directed by Mark Daniels, as we already said. The music in this is done by Samjel Metlovsky. It's his only Trek episode, and I think he fucking kills it. Like weird, whimsical bassoons and lines like that. Like I think it just perfect shit. As Stell mentioned earlier, there was an original draft of the script that was more split between the planet and the ship. We spent more time on the ship with Norman before we get to the planet and before we get to Mud. Lost in that is also Norman revealing he's an android and then Scotty almost immediately going, "Can I take you apart?" Nothing personal though.
I love it.
The teaser for this before credits is like 5.5 minutes long. It's the longest in the series. And I think that what they were trying to do is squeeze in as much of that Norman as they possibly could, because once it becomes a Mud episode, it's a Mud episode. You should just get to Mud on the planet as quickly as possible.
I forget about that sometimes with the 60s stuff, like, because reruns were really a thing. So you really had to get somebody to like, you had to be like, no, this episode is one worth your time to like switch over from Bewitched or whatever the fuck you're watching. Like you had to make like trailers for every episode. It's so interesting.
Jumping into some casting stuff, that's Richard Tatro as Norman. He leaves acting after this role, although he lived until the 90s. Also known for Sin in the Suburbs and Pandora and the Magic Box.
Man, he was great. I'm surprised he left acting sucks. I totally understand why he left, but also, like, he was really good.
He was like, I did my magnum opus. I got to get out.
True.
Conversely, though, his stunt double in this is a guy named Lauren Janes. Lauren Janes was also Shatner's stunt double for Charlie X. His stunt credits go from 1955 to 2002.
Damn.
Stunt credit
Old
highlights
man
in... What's that?
Old man stunts.
Yeah, old man stunts. It was for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Hilarious.
I love it.
His stunt credit highlights include Jailhouse Rock, Snow White and the Three Stooges, Spartacus as Kirk Douglas's stunt double, Paint Your Wagon, the only stuntman to perform in both The Magnificent Seven and The Dirty Dozen, Halloween 3, Rambo 2, Repo Man, Escape from New York, The Abyss, Robin Hood Men in Tights, and then, just like I said, O2's Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Tights. He was also the co-founder of the Stuntmen's Association in 1961 and is regarded as one of the key figures in the development of modern cinematic stunt design, improving safety procedures. And now, for some twins.
Twins!
As the Maisie series in the green dresses that you only see at the end, that is Star and Tamara Wilson. This is all that they've done IMDb-wise. They looked like they could barely keep a straight face during this scene. Good for them. Good for them.
Good for them.
For them.
As the Barbara series in the pink dresses, that's Colleen and Maureen Thornton.
No.
Rude.
No.
Their parents are
good.
rude.
It's not good.
Colleen, Maureen, clean your room.
I hate it. They were actually a working Hollywood singing duo. They belonged to a
Of course they are with fucking names like that.
That can't be their real names. Now that you tell me they're a singing duo, their names are like Janet and
Barbara.
Beverly. Yeah, like they were like, we're gonna be a star. I'm Colleen and I'm Maureen.
They were in a traveling troupe that, of course, performed the musical Hair around all of America. And they themselves, as a duo, called themselves the Gemini Twins.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They both left acting after having, multiple roles together as twins to become professional singers. There was Colleen changed her name to Colleen Fortune, and there was a band that both of them were involved in for a little while until, the band broke up and the 60s to the 70s to the 80s, and people aren't so interested in singing twin duos anymore. As the Herman series, that is Ted and Tom Lagarde.
Oh.
Are they fraternal twins? They did not look that much alike.
No, I don't think they're fraternal. I think they were just close enough. They did, however, marry sisters.
No.
What a bit. Ted was in a B-action horror movie named D4 in 2011 that Tom was not. So, striking out on his own.
I love you. I hate you.
As the Alices, that is Alice Andrees and Ray Andrees. Yes, we've broken the naming convention. I love how specifically in the casting notes it says Alice plays Alice number 1 through number 250, and Ray plays Alice 251 through 500. It's the specificity for me.
Wow.
They were the ones that were pulled off the street, but like they got to stay because they didn't bring a wildcat.
They didn't bring an exotic animal.
Prostitutes, I guess. Not that there's anything wrong with being a prostitute, but just that's a colorfulness to the story.
It was Gene himself riding down the street and saw them on the sidewalk in his car.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Hey, you two, want to be in TV?
That was it. That was exactly it.
Us? Can we bring our cat in your car?
No.
After this, they also did twin bits in Batman, Bonanza, Hell's Bloody Devils, and The Name of the Game. Their IMDb credits are identical as well.
Cute.
Okay, let's leave Twin Town.
Okay.
That is Michael Zaslow as Jordan, and In a weird twist that will become evident to the listeners soon enough, he also plays Darnell in The Man Trap.
Oh, yeah. I wondered. Jordan's the one that gets like karate trapped in the face. And I was like,
okay.
Yep.
That's funny because when I was watching this, I was like, man, I know this guy's been in other episodes. And which is stupid because I like prepped these episodes back to back and didn't even realize it. He's got a punchable face.
Yeah.
He also gets an uncredited role in First Contact as well. He has like a walk-on role there. So I always like it when they do that. That's cool. He has Broadway credits, including Fiddler on the Roof, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Boccaccio, and Onward Victoria. He also did 328 episodes of Love is a Many Splendored Thing, Lou Grant, Barnaby Jones, Falcon Crest, Spencer for Hire, 14 episodes of One Life to Live, and 228 episodes of Guiding Light, where he received 4 Emmy nominations, playing the villainous Roger Thorpe from 1971 to 1980, and again from 89 to 97. And garnered a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in 1994 for that role. So, like, does 2 treks, but then kills it elsewhere.
They still have a lot of those soap operas, but now they're on like Hulu and stuff, which I think is interesting.
Wild. It's good work if you can get it. They'll keep you around.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That is Kay Elliott as Stella Mudd. Not
She
much
was
else
excellent.
on her list other than this, although she is like knew the assignment absolutely.
Harcourt Fenton Mudd.
You're going to run 2 miles every morning before you get your breakfast.
You'll be doing 100 push-ups every day.
She just wants him to be better. She also has guest spots on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Gomer Pyle, Here's Lucy, The Red Skeleton Hour, which is 8 is Enough, and The Gas Pump Girls. And then, of course, it's Roger C. Carmel as Harry Mudd. We talked about him when we discussed Mudd's Women, but goddamn, if there ever was a man made for a role or the other way around, I cannot think of a better.
He's so good. The like word choices he uses too.
It's so good. He's so good.
I love it.
Moving on to the X-Files episode Letters and Numbers. As Erin mentioned, this is written by Shannon Hamlin and Kristen Cloak. Kristen also provides a voice on this episode, and her other writing credits are she wrote 2 episodes of a show called The Intruder as well. I'll talk more about her acting credits in a bit. One thing that surprised me about this when reading this is that Glenn Morgan has only directed 3 episodes of The X-Files, and this is one of them. And the other 2 are also later season episodes. So he doesn't touch directing during the regular run of this show.
Wild.
He's got like a really good vision, unsurprisingly. Yeah. But like, he's just good at stuff. Because he like understands the X-Files in a way that like a lot of other writers and directors like kind of do, but not really.
Both of the Morgan brothers clearly loved this show. And like it really comes across in the writing and then later in the directing.
Getting into some lore stuff and detail work, the code on Scully's home system is 0223, which is her birthday, February 23rd. And of course, her verbal password is Queequeg, her dead dog.
Her dead dog.
I love that she had to spell it out. They were like, what is Queequeg? Oh, it's a stupid Moby Dick. You know what? Never mind. I'll pay you $250 to stop talking to me.
The alarm noise in her house is also exactly the same or close enough to the nuclear missile strike signal in the video game Half-Life, that it just completely flips that switch in my brain every single time it happens.
Interesting.
Scully's smart fridge displays that reminder to get Daddy his cake. But also a pending book club meeting and that Scott's coming to dinner. Per the episode's writers, Scott is the first name of the props team head who programmed the visual props in this episode, including the smart teams for the smart devices.
I told you she has friends. We were watching it, and Stella was like, man, this house is really big for one person, which it is. It's fucking enormous. And she has like a 6-person dining table. And I was like, she has a lot of entertaining. And Stella's response was, what friends? What friends does Scully have? And
you're like, she's a doctor. She probably has doctor friends.
She worked as a medical doctor for 8 years while Mulder was in hiding from the FBI. Like, she probably still has some friends.
I told you she has friends.
It's Scott. Scott's there.
Scott just brings other people.
Scott knows what her house looks like. Mulder does not.
Scott could get there without an almanac. A weird little detail that puts this in 2018, you know, as opposed to like so much of the rest of the X-Files, is a poster that you briefly see hanging on the wall of that weird 3D printing or whatever factory that Mulder and Scully decide to try to the robots from, only to find that it is filled with fucking robots. There's one of those creepy... Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, were those bullets supposed to be 3D printed bullets?
I guess. Why were there bullets inside that person's office? We'll never fucking know.
Yeah, because when he goes to smash that machine with whatever, it looks like it's making more. So I always thought that was like 3D printing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense because they could just like connect to the 3D printer and be like 3D print ballistic bullets.
Yeah.
But anyways, hanging in there is one of those very, very of the time, have you seen this man photos? And it's of that sketch drawing of, it was a creepypasta of like, all of these people have seen this guy's face in their dreams, and all of our dreams are connected. That turned out to be like a big hoax from a marketing company. One of those pictures is hanging up there.
I noticed that drawing and was like, this must mean something. I have no fucking clue what it is, though. So I'm glad you looked it up.
There it is. It's an internet thing.
Oh, great. Of course.
And then one thing that I'll actually say before getting into casting notes on this is that blobfish are actually quite rare and only look like that because they're deep sea fish. And so when they float to the surface, their skeletal structure is built for high pressure deep seas. And so it completely fucks up their structure. And there's never been a true living specimen of them observed. There's been photographs and videos, but no one has seen one alive with their bare eyes. So like, that's a really long way to go for a fuck you. So I think the robots were already evil before Mulder didn't tip them. Just saying.
Yeah, they did not deserve a tip.
Getting into some casting notes, which is a bunch of small voice roles and then the one other casted named part in this episode other than Mulder and Scully. We'll start with the aforementioned Kristen Cloak, who also voices Wendy, but she also is in the episode The Field Where I Died.
That's her.
That's her.
Oh no. We're going to get to that episode. It's
big face like expressions from Erin.
I do not like that episode. It is fucking weird.
Fun.
Mulder has past life regression.
Oh yeah.
Is that just like a normal day for Mulder?
Fair.
She also has starring roles in both Space Above and Beyond and a recurring role in Millennium. Also known for Megaverse, Silk Stocking, Stay Tuned, Quantum Leap, Murder, She Wrote, Felicity, and Lady Bird. So she also has done things other than what her husband is directing.
Oh, good. I mean, get it where you can, whatever.
Lady Bird is a very good movie.
The eNorms UZ customer service agent is Sitara Ate. She did a couple of episodes of Homeland and was Hasina on United States of Al. The science voice is Matt Corboy. He also did some reenactment work on Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction, was in Jag, The West Wing, was Ray Carlson on The Shield, Battleground, Gio's Pizza, and played 2 different SWAT officers in 2 different Key and Peele sketches.
That's funny.
He's also done some video game voiceover work in Spider-Man Miles Morales and LA Noire. As the Bigley customer service agent, groan. That is Ashley Lambert. A lot of her credits are in Loop Group and ADR casting. One of her credited roles was voicing Vampire Temptress in Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Great.
And then, of course, the only other named role in this episode, it is Shirley, the lady in the diner, which only has a name because Mulder says, "Thanks, Shirley."
And she
And that's
said,
played
you
by...
can take your time, relax, enjoy the eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, he did put down like $40 there.
Yeah, he
so,
was like, I'm going to
yeah.
tip this human woman a lot of money.
I do
So
not
much
want
money.
this woman coming for me.
That's Candace Churchill. She also played a singer in a Lone Gunman episode. Her credits include the original 21 Jump Street TV show, The Outer Limits, Silverwing, The 4400, Firewall, Smallville, 2012, Psych, Crash Pad, Supergirl, and Riverdale. In 2020/21, she was inducted into the BC Entertainment Hall of Fame, which is the British Columbia Entertainment Acting Hall of Fame. So good for you for getting the most Canadian award. A Canadian, good Canadian.
Yeah, Jesus.
Anyways, that's it for me. Wash your hands. Bye.
You suck, Mr. Phone.
All right, now it's time for our overall thoughts. So these episodes tied together because they're about robots.
Yeah, we nailed the theme on this one. No stretching, no shoehorning, robots.
Yeah, and if anybody comes at me like, well, androids technically aren't robots, you can
Yes,
suck
they
at
are.
that one.
Yes, they are.
They absolutely are.
Yeah, absolutely. These both fit the theme 100%.
Well, yeah, and then we had a race of robots who were like assholes and they were like, you better fucking treat us well or we'll literally blow up your house. And then a race of robots that are like, we are so nice that we are going to destroy your life.
And ourselves.
So robots bad.
It's a wash, really. It's about people teaching robots, both of them are.
Yeah.
Which works out very well for us in our theming purposes.
Just once, I want there to be a Star Trek episode where there are robots. Like, this would be a good Lower Decks episode where, like, there are robots and they're, you know, existing. And then Boimler's like, oh, I know how to do this. I'm going to talk this robot to death. And then he tries to talk the robot to death via, like, all of his, like, fangirling over Kirk. And the robot is like, yeah, we are past that. You can't talk us to death. We're good.
We figured out your tricks. Thank you very
Isn't
much.
there actually a Lower Decks episode that's kind of like that? Now that I think about it, I think there's like an evil AI. Yeah, you know what? I think Lower Decks did do that. I'm just thinking about that episode. Anyways, Lower Decks Fox, you should watch it.
That's funny.
So instead of a casual fan questionnaire,
We've upgraded.
We had our new fan questionnaire, and then we had our casual fan questionnaire, and now we're just fans.
Now
right?
we're just fans.
This is a fan questionnaire. So we've reworked the questions a little bit. As a fan of Star Trek, how would you say this episode holds up compared to the others that you've seen?
It's amazing. It's one of the best episodes I've seen. It was incredible. It has all of the cast works well together. It has really great moments. It has people acting outside of their characters, but in ways that are super believable and not like bizarre, like the failed spin-off one. It has great costuming. It has great sets. It has great music. It has a throwback character, which apparently never happens again, but is like really enjoyable inside of this context. It has great acting. This was a top tier episode.
Oh, and it's got a really good shot of Kirk, like with his foot up, leaning, and with his
Booty
ass out.
Booty popped.
We got booty pop. This is an A+ episode.
How would you say that this X-Files episode compares to other ones?
I think that it folds in really well. Like it definitely is one that you can't watch without having like, well, you can watch. I think it would still be enjoyable, but like it is more enjoyable knowing the characters' relationships. And like I said earlier, I think this is one of my favorite episodes of David Duchovny's acting specifically because he just sits in the role really well. He just like relaxes into it and is like, this is who I am. This is who this character is. I've accepted it. Like, I just know what this is. And in this ridiculous scenario, I make all the right Mulder decisions. I also made a note of this. It was like Mulder and Scully are the only people who would almost survive death by robot and then pick up their phone and play with it. And that feels very true to like who the X-Files is as a show and who these characters are.
Yes.
So I think it folds in quite well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely.
What is the most Star Trek moment of the episode?
That's tough. I feel like maybe Bones and Spock at the beginning John at each other. That just feels so true to those characters that felt very on brand. Also, Scotty did a lot of really good flinging in this episode, which feels very like in line with Star Trek in this. Like he gets chopped by Norman when he comes in, and then it's like flinging himself around onto the console, and then he gets like chucked into the room later. I thought that fit in very well. And all of his great boop movement work was excellent. Yeah, I thought there was a lot of great movement work inside of this, which feels very true to how it fits inside of Star Trek as a whole. What's the most X-Files moment of this?
I have two answers. The first is Mulder being like, how come your house is so much nicer than mine?
Yeah.
It's like the most like X-Files moment to me. And the other one is when Mulder is sitting trying to like talk on the phone to get his credit card canceled or whatever. And he just is like, that's the Spidey sense moment of, oh, I'm being watched.
Yes.
Yes, I know what this feeling is. Because like we have 11 seasons of him being like, yep, this is a skill I have. Somebody is around here.
I feel it. I feel it. It's somewhere. Also, that moment, I think, too, when Mulder stands up and sees the drones before we see the drones, and he just has this look on his face like, I'm in danger. Oh, no. And then it pans over, and you just see this swarm of colorful robots, like, inside of his house.
Yeah.
I feel like that also is a very good Mulder moment.
Yeah, and also that, I mean, those scenes in his house of like both being very keyed in and like, I know what's going on, and then also being deeply oblivious. Like, so many drone, because he was like, oh, I solved the problem, I'm gonna go back to my thing, and then he gets really consumed by the thing he was doing to the point where he's like, doesn't realize that he did not solve the problem. Like thinking he's done before he's done is also like a very Mulder moment.
Yes, it is. 100%.
Who you shipping?
Spones, I think. They had those great interactions at the beginning and the end. Also, like, Scotty and Bones, I guess. Another rare pair that, like, I don't think I would have ever put the two of them together. They're just such good buddies. Yeah. I don't want them to kiss.
Scotty's everybody's, like, favorite fuck buddy, man.
Yes. I don't need you to be in a relationship together, but, you know, just hook up after the bar every once in a while.
I definitely have links for Scotty and Bones.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. A lot of them are just them like at a bar being like, oh, you know, do you want to fuck? And they're both like, we're both very good at our jobs. We're both exasperated. We just need a little stress relief. And we just want to drink some really expensive whiskey and fuck.
Wow. I mean, relatable. I get it.
Yeah.
Are you shipping Mulder and Scully?
Yeah, Mulder and the drones. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, again, I don't ship Mulder and Scully in a lot of the early seasons at all. Like, it takes me a while. But by the later seasons, like, we watched that Immortality episode, which is a doozy for me. But, like, especially by these seasons, like, he's disappeared. She's been kidnapped. They have this kid that I've still never met. There's, like, a whole fucking... But I like watching these because, again, they have settled into the relationship, right? They don't even fucking live together, but they are still the most in a relationship people that you're going to see on screen.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love their like old lady love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their old love, their established love.
Yes.
Their prosaic love.
No.
Is this episode a fuck, or a fuck?
This is a fuck. This is obviously a fuck. Both of these episodes fuck.
Why would we open the season 3 with a shitty episode? Right? These fuck.
Here's a flop, I guess.
No, here's a fop.
Exactly. Fops only.
That's it. We did it. Season 3.
Woo! It's season 3. All right. You can find us on the internet. You can follow us at NYD Productions on Twitter and interact with the show using the hashtag XTREXPod. You can find me at NYD Urgency on Instagram.
You can find me on Twitter at Stella_Cheeks.
And you can find me on Twitter at Haberdasher9K.
You can also email us at xtrexpod@gmail.com with questions or comments. And if you want some fic links, I can send you all the ones I talked about already. But you also know I do have sex robots.
Jesus.
Wait, links for sex robots, or you own sex robots?
No comment.
And if you want more special behind-the-scenes action, like our script notes, outtakes, manuals for our sex robots, extra podcasts like unofficial channels, and access to our Discord, then check out our Patreon at patreon.com/NYD Productions, where you can get all of that and more for only $1.
I stopped doing it because you guys keep like tricking me, and then I just say it by myself. I look like an idiot. So.
It's season 3. Fun. We've forgiven ourselves for our past trespasses.
Yeah, everything starts anew. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to tell your friends. We find this nerdy shit is better when it's shared.
We'll see you next episode for vampires. In the meantime,
believe boldly.
Seek truth.
Ship proudly.
X-Trex is created and written by Stella Cheeks, Erin Cline, and Bobby Hoffman, and produced by Bobby Hoffman for NYD Productions. Our show theme is Alien Spy by Ionix, and our show art was made by Jonathan Curtis.